Welcome into Real Biz. I am your host, Bubba Startz, and with me today from Topaz Coaching and Consulting, Topaz Zafrir. Welcome to the show, Topaz.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I am so excited for today's conversation. We're going to get into some business talk, and I love the help and what you're doing for women in the industry and multiple industries, really. But before we get into all of that, would love to just give you an opportunity here to give us a little bit of your backstory, and then we'll pick it up from there.
Okay, so my backstory is that I actually never planned to be self-employed, never planned to be like a businesswoman in that regard. I went to school and I have a bachelor and a master in organizational consultancy. And then I went to travel the world, another part I definitely love. And I fell in love with a Canadian guy. So I found myself moving across the world to find love. And here I am in a small town in rural Canada, and I need to build myself. And I started doing what I know to do. So I just started working with local businesses and tried to help them out. And then all of a sudden, I see this pattern time and time again. Talented, skilled, educated women coming to me, and they're playing small. They don't want to market themselves. They don't want to get out there. They're fearing to ask for money in many different ways and forms. And then I kind of understood, okay, there's a problem here. I want to help. I feel determined to help women to really fulfill themselves in the business world. And I went back to coaching, get my diploma, and now started fully help women to stop playing small and press that send button, ask for what they deserve, and conquer the world little by little.
I love it. And our society is based on, and I think it's changing, but was not necessarily culturally built for women to be upfront about a lot of these things, and because of people like you and a culture that is shifting around the world, but there's still so much coaching and coaxing, if you will, to get women to behave more outwardly and to really give them permission to do so where they may not get that outwardly from the rest of the world.
Totally. Like we get contradictive messages from society, right? They want us to be assertive, but not too much because then you're bitchy. They want us to be modest, but then like to go for it. It's really hard to navigate expectations of society. And yes, women in business is still a relatively new thing, right? We are changing an era. But if you go even 15 years ago, how many women in business were they? Like very little relatively. So it is changing. And we kind of need to remember that this is a changing time and give ourselves grace for not knowing how to navigate it exactly. And also learning how to do it ourselves, because this is not something that you learn at school, sadly, but to have a business of your own, knowing what to do, wear so many hats. Like, probably, but like when you're in a self-employed, you wear all the hats in your business. And we are not trained for that. You kind of need to learn from scratch. This is definitely a complicated thing to do at the beginning.
Yeah, I've worn 5 different hats today, Topaz. So I feel you in that. And looking back, at 25 years ago, I know it's not true, but it felt like there was only like one woman that was really out there in business, and that was Oprah, right? And I feel like she, a one woman who has been a shining example of, being a boss lady and taking ownership of your sales. Now, I know she wasn't the only one at everything, but definitely the most highly visible one by a long shot, and now owning her own media network and everything that it, kind of spurned from there. And I think gave a lot of confidence to other women over that, and is a major driving force, behind the change in the culture over the last, couple of decades. And now it's really up to people like yourself to do the real hard work, right? It's one thing to inspire individuals to want to do it, but there's so much that goes on inside of a small business. And even if you are the best accountant or, operator inside of your business, to learn how to be a marketer and someone who is very forward and a salesperson are very different skill sets. And you often in a small business don't have someone else to hand those responsibilities off to.
Oh, totally. I will touch very quickly about the part of modeling because that's what you're actually saying with Oprah. And that's actually a very important thing. Without knowing, we are searching models to mimic, right? And when women in our ages and older, like, did not have that modeling, of course, they wouldn't even think necessarily that they could be that thing. So it's definitely changing. And like the generation today is getting better modeling than ever before, but this is something new. So thank you for bringing it up. And just to even think about it and bring it into awareness already help us understand the shift that is happening. But definitely touching upon the marketing part, oh boy. Like I find that this is one of the toughest challenges that my clients are facing, especially the one that are dealing with services and not just products that they sell, because you are the business and you are the face and your story what matters. Like you need to be out there. You can't just hide behind a product. You have to get out there and show yourself and tell your story. And it's not something easy for a lot of people. It's so hard to press that send. There's so many inner voices. I call it the inner critic that comes up. It's not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not professional enough. I just started. Like, who am I to say that? There's millions like me. All of the things I said are quotes from clients I've worked with. Like I have amazing quotes that I collected over time and with my work of a woman that told me that even if I get 100 testimonials a day saying I'm wonderful, I know what I'm doing, I'm professional, I'm good, I wouldn't believe it. And that's a deep thing. Like that's a limiting belief, an inner critic voice that really shape how you're showing up in the world. It's so hard to battle against it and really show up. And I'm not saying that men doesn't have it, because of course some men do have it, unfortunately, as well. But it's so predominant in the female side. We are learned that we need to know 70% of the knowledge before we call ourselves experts, while research showed that like men only need to know 30% in order to really feel confident to talk about things. So yeah, that's a real difference. And that's making so much more challenging to show up.
Yeah. Being a man who knows very little about a lot of things, I can definitely speak confidently about them, even though I may not be as knowledgeable as even maybe I should be. So I feel that in many ways. So much good stuff in there, and you talk about the modeling, and I think young ladies are so fortunate to have role models like a Taylor Swift, who I happen to know her story very well from being part of her former manager, Rick Barker's world, and knowing that, she very much, she was a kid. She was a kid with talent and a dream. And to look at her now of not just being a brilliant performer and songwriter, but really being the CEO of her life and her business. And what an excellent model for not just ones who have a penchant for artistry and want to be rock stars, but for anyone who wants to be in business. And really that can be a role model for a woman of any age, and to see that and to feel more confident. There's a lot there, especially culturally, and we kind of touched on it a little bit before, but that, especially what you said. I love that you have the data to kind of back that up, but I see it a lot with my wife, that she really needs to know things inside and out before she's ever going to really open her mouth about anything. And I'm constantly encouraging her that she probably knows more than most people in the room from the get-go, and that her life experience is so incredibly valuable. And I think that inner critic for women is especially so much louder than for men.
Yeah, like we as women a lot of time need to overcome because our bar is so much higher to begin with. So in order for me to call myself a professional, I hold myself so accountable that I need to be the best before I could call myself a professional. And that's the biggest flaw when you're just starting, right? When you start a business, you are new. Everyone needs to start somewhere. But for women to start a business, that's not something to take for granted, because how can I like really call myself out if like I'm just a beginner? And that's like such a huge change. We need to overcome that inner critic in order for not letting it manage us. And let me tell you, most of my clients and most of the people out there still struggling, and some of them really let that manage. And it's okay. I just want to say it's completely normal. It's something that we all face with like some level or another. But the work I do goes deeper in order not to silence the inner critic. It would always be there, and it's there to protect us. Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for protecting me from failure, from rejection, from anything like that. It makes total sense that we would have those defense mechanism, but we are working on lowering the volume. So you would hear it, but it wouldn't decide for you what you're going to do or not.
And I think in this day, and with the way that the media landscape is, with social media and the way that we have to market our business, and especially in the service industry, because it is so much about our story and that personal story, that's a vulnerable space to be in. And most women who have either just starting out in business or that have been and worked inside of male dominated industries have kind of had to model themselves as being tough. And now you're being asked as a business owner and a founder and a front of your business to now be vulnerable and to show those sides of yourself and to show your failures. And that's hard for anyone to do, much less someone that has had to kind of put this mask of toughness on to operate in the world for the last 20 or 30 years, to now be introduced and to go out there and say, well, okay, now I have to be comfortable taking that mask off. I just got comfortable wearing it.
Yeah, so there's two things I want to relate to it. One is that one of the biggest thing is like we kind of like waves of feminism and whatever, like I need to be like a man in order to do it well. And then like, no, I'm a woman and I do things differently than a man, and that's completely fine. And now we actually need to learn what is women in business. How do we show up? What do we do differently that it is literally different than what men would necessarily do? For example, we collaborate more. We search to actually do things together in order to make it work. And that's something that a lot of men wouldn't do or even would dismiss sometimes, but it's such a big power. This is just an example for women leadership that works differently in a way that actually show up in business. And that's great. We need to embrace it and not to push it away, because this is not something that is accustomed. So that's definitely one thing that we kind of learn, like to, as we see more models, as you said, and as we kind of learn how to do that, we learn that we have a different theme, a different action plan that we could do that doesn't show up the same way as men necessarily build up the business. And the second thing is also about like creating the way of the business that aligns with you. Okay, and this is something that it's part of the work that I love to do. It's really to shine through your strengths, your values, what aligns with you. Because yes, when you need to be out there, like it, and you need to put on not a mask, like really show yourself out there. This is something so tough. And let me tell you, this is not relatable when you're perfect. This is the truth. When you see like the polish, the shines, AI, we could talk a lot about that too. Like written, everything is like no typo, no, everything is looking perfect. Like, but the perfect picture, the perfect post. I'm just succeeding. I gain this much money. I have lots of clients. This is unrelatable to some extent. It's good, but it doesn't show who you are. It doesn't show your story. It doesn't show behind the scenes. And everyone have bad days. Everyone has like some sales that don't go. Everyone has that client that said no. It's important to show up and show that part of the story as well.
Do you feel like your clients, uh, that you're able to build their confidence, because what you've done in your life, moving halfway around the world for a man that you love, and uprooting your entire life, and coming to a new country and all of those, do you feel like that helps kind of inspire and build confidence inside of your clients as well? Because I find it to be incredibly inspiring.
It's actually, it's nice that you say that. I haven't really looked at it as inspiring in that regard. People call me brave when I made that choice. I didn't see it as brave because I followed my heart and I felt like I'm doing what I want to do.
What can be more brave than that, Topaz?
I guess that brave is just depends of what's your comfort zone. And I actually call it like widen your comfort zone and not step outside of it. So I was traveling a lot to the world before. So for me, having an adventure abroad was something that I felt comfortable with relatively. Obviously, I did a lot of new things, a lot of stretching my comfort zone over there, but it wasn't like completely unraveling. To open a business, though, ooh, that I did not know what to do. There's so many hats as we spoke about. So, yeah, the building confidence is important. But first of all, I want to say that a lot of people are like one of the thing with the inner critic that it would make you sound as if like this is the professional voice, what you actually need to do. And this is the responsible thing. I need to wait. I'm not professional enough. I'll wait with that. I'll do another diploma. I'll go back to the sketching board. So many things that keep you staying the vicious cycle of not taking action. And it seems like, oh, the perfectionist voice would be like, I'm just not ready enough. And in reality, there's like, this is a decision thing. You can't really be ready forever because you haven't done it yet. This is the reality. You have to jump into the water and just start to do things because that's the experience you really need. So I feel like a lot of people are waiting for this confidence level to start building up. And in reality, like what I'm working with my clients is small steps that are doable, that you feel that are stretching maybe your comfort zone, not outside of it. And like you start to gain the confidence little by little. Like people are waiting for this confidence to be like at 80-90% before they do it. You're never going to reach that. It's unrealistic. And not only that, but it's also when you are focusing on working from your strengths and your values and what you do and what you show to the world really aligns with who you are, you're already in a position where you're more confident in what you're doing. And this is exactly what I hope my clients do.
Yeah, 2 years ago, I had never even been a guest on a podcast, and now I'm over 1,000 episodes in, and there was a ton of fear and I had been having conversations my entire life, right? But I had never had the record button running on that. And you're talking about someone who had performed hundreds of shows and performed live in front of thousands and thousands of people before that. So I was very comfortable delivering a performance, but it was still different and it was still scary. And it, in many ways, it still is scary, but it's the fact that I've stretched that comfort zone so far, over the course of my career, and especially these last 2 years, that I don't feel uncomfortable really in any specific situation. Is there always a slight bit of anxiety? Sure, but that's always going to be there. And I think that's where you put it so eloquently, that we're not turning off the inner critic, but we're turning it down to nearly inaudible and overcoming every single day. And I love that part of your teaching and coaching that you do is to take baby steps. You don't have to cannonball into this pool. It's okay to dip a toe in first and to make sure that you're going to be comfortable. And I think especially for women who are just naturally ingrained to be a little bit trepidatious and a little bit more cautious about the way that they move, that it's okay. But building that confidence and building that trust in themselves that they are capable of doing it is so key. And that's why I think the work that you're doing is so incredibly valuable, and also incredibly inspiring for, I hope, other women to take on this same role that you have for other women, that when you get there, there's 8 billion people on the planet. Topaz can't help all 4 billion women that are out there, and several million that are probably considering starting their own business. And you mentioned AI a little bit ago. Because of AI, more and more people are going to be going out and trying their own business, either because their jobs at their employers are going to go away. They're going to have some newness in that. And even if you are not a entrepreneur and taking on your own, you may be trying on a new role, whether that's in the professional business world or it's in your family life, and that as well. And I think the skills and the confidence that you are helping these women build is going to serve them in their whole lives and not just in their businesses.
For sure. And I actually want to relate to one of the things you said, because when you just starting and you have all the energy and the enthusiasm to kind of start, and you're like, yes, I'll do this and I'll do that, and I'll add, kind of the New Year's resolution. Yes, I'm gonna do everything, and now I'm gonna start working out, and I'm gonna start the diet, and I'm gonna take everything at once. Not only that it's like really heavy load over time, but it would actually make you fail or lead to burnout. Okay, so like part of the idea of small steps, small doable, reachable steps, is to show you that you could actually reach that. It's almost like competing between two forces of like slow and steady win the course, right? Because you could start in a sprint, but how long can you ride a sprint? Like run in a sprint? Like we are in a marathon here, and this is what I want to say. Like enthusiasm, there's a sentence like that I like enthusiasm is very common, consistency is rare, and that's what you need in order to build a business. You're not getting known in one day. You're not getting known even mostly in a year or two. Like you kind of need to build it up. And like, that's exactly what you were describing in your career too, right? There's a lot of shifts, a lot of changes here. And like, I want to ask you a bit about your level of confidence when you just started, because that's, I don't know, maybe it would relate to that and show us kind of how you dealt with it.
Yeah, well, and it's so funny. Like I said, I had spent a lot of time in front of a microphone. I had been on stage in front of very many people, or on the street performing and doing what I was very comfortable doing at home, playing my guitar and singing. But I had never just been in conversations. And I realize now that I kind of had in that way, but I was never someone who liked to do a lot of talking from the stage. I was there to play music and would say a few words, but it was never just delivering in that and having conversations with people on tape. The first 100 episodes I did were on audio only, so I didn't have the camera in front of me. And it was, turning the camera on in late 2024, early 2025 was a huge step for me. It was to be in that. I wasn't necessarily someone, I turned 40 yesterday, Topaz. I didn't grow up with one of these in my hand and staring at it and staring into a camera and talking that way. It just wasn't part of who I was. So it took a lot of getting comfortable doing that. And to really, for me, I started with just doing like 2 to 5 minute live streams on my Facebook page, right? And just going live, talking to the camera, getting comfortable with that, getting comfortable with nobody on the other side of that conversation. And then I was able to do more. I didn't know how to even talk to a camera. If you go back and watch some of the first 40 episodes of 2025, you'll see that I'm kind of looking up at the screen. And it took someone, another coach, and I had on the show, that was like, what are you looking at? And I was like, well, what do you mean? She's like, well, you're always looking up. And I was like, oh yeah, like you can't see me when I'm looking up there. You can't see me through the camera. This is such an awkward way to communicate with each other. And it was hard, but until she had said something, I had no idea that I was even doing it, right? Because I'm so trained as a fellow human, right? That we're trying to look in each other's eyes and understanding that now your eyes are on the other side of this lens. But I didn't have that until someone had told me. And then it took even, another 20 episodes to get used to actually doing it and doing it right. I can say the same thing about editing the video. Like, I did not come from a broadcasting or video background. That was not me. I was a live performer, singer, songwriter, and my career path when I was, just starting my podcasting journey was as a welder. So I didn't have any of the skills really that I do now, besides being able to, speak effectively. And now I kind of look back, and I probably should watch some of those early episodes to see just how far we've come. But what I brought to the table was the emotional intelligence of that life that I had lived previously, and bringing that to the table. And I think it's really in accentuating the things that you already do well, and figuring out how to do those, and stretching that comfort zone by bringing the things that you do well to the table. You don't just have to go out there and be awful. Like, you're going to be awful at things that are new to you regardless, right? But how do you bring that wealth of experience that you do have to make you feel a little bit more confident in being awful for a little while? Because it's inevitable. You cannot get around it. If you're just starting out in something, you're not going to be perfect at it. And I would argue that nobody really even wants to see perfect at this point.
Totally agreed. And I just want to take your story and say that this is exactly a great example for this case scenario. Like, if we're taking you, like you started saying, by repetition, I started doing it for I don't know how many episodes, but without a camera, and I got comfortable in it. So repetition. And then you started with exposure, small step, not with a lot of people, whoever, even maybe to a blank audience, who knows, you started to expose yourself and try and dip your toes into the water, right? And then you got external help. You got a guide, or you got a supporter, in the realm of working with a video. But it doesn't matter, each person with their own field, but you got this help. And the two things that were important in the end of what you're saying: first of all, you agreed to be not perfect. You agreed to be a beginner. This is something that some people find so hard. You need to have a margin of error. You have to, as you were saying, this is something that is just impossible to be perfect, especially when you start. But I would definitely say that anytime, we are human beings, we make mistakes, and we need to have grace for ourselves. So this is something that is definitely important. And the last part I want to say is that you said something also that was important: celebrate the wins. See how far I've came. Here I am, and I'm showing up, and I'm so much better. And I actually acknowledge that. A lot of people, their inner critic, are really focusing on the negative. They're focusing on what I haven't learned yet, what I need to do, where I'm not professional enough, where I need to improve or whatnot. Okay. And this is obviously okay, and obviously good. We need to keep improving. We need to keep on working, but we have to celebrate our wins. We have to see the progress, because otherwise this is a defeating feeling of I'm just keep on working and promoting and doing the hard work and nothing changed. This would lead to burnout. This would lead to hard feelings of I don't want to wake up in the morning and to, fulfill my dream and push on my business because I don't see any positive. So I'm really working on that too. Sit down and see the change. See how far you've come already.
I was laughing because I literally have a little note that says I give myself grace, and you might not be able to see it with my lighting and everything, but it is tacked right below my camera right here. So I'm looking at it as you're saying it, and it's so important. And I read it every day. I don't always take it to heart, but it's there when I need it, right? To say that, it's okay. It's okay to suck. right? And especially when you're just starting out in anything. And even when you make mistakes, even if you are very good at your job, it's okay to make mistakes. It is not the end of the world. And you will be able to overcome that. And if it was, a slight to someone, you can always apologize. And if it was, something that can be rectified, well, then you should. But it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world at any point. So I really appreciate everything that you've shared with us here. I appreciate the work that you're doing for all of these women entrepreneurs that are out there operating in the business world. As I well know myself, it's not easy, and it's even harder for women to do that. So for all of you ladies that are listening to this episode, we are both so proud of you for taking that. If you need help and you need some coaching and mentorship, Topaz is available. You can go to topazcoachingandconsulting.com. If you're watching the video version, you can see it scrolling across the bottom there. Topaz, anywhere else that you want to plug before I let you go?
So I'm in most of the platforms. If you want to find me, I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, anywhere that you kind of want to connect through. And I think that the main message that I want people to come out with that, first of all, that this is a normal thing, like to hear this hardship on yourself and to kind of deal with it, whether you're a man or a woman, it's perfectly normal, especially if you're a beginner. But I want them to take from this conversation, hopefully, that this is not the bottom line. You could change that, and this shouldn't manage you. If you find yourself that your fears and your inner dialogue stops you from actually like reaching your dreams, know that this is not the deadline. Okay, like you could change that, and you could actually work with it and not against it. Okay, so this is like the main thing I want you to know. And even regardless if you're coming to me or not, this is something that you could change in your life, because the end result is that we want to empower people, right? We want to help them shine. And this is what I'm so grateful to do in my life, really help empowering people and get their best.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for giving me some of your time. I know that you're probably still unpacking boxes from your move, so I appreciate you sitting down with me for a little while today. Thank you for everything that you're doing, and thank you for being part of the scene.
Thank you so much.